All right, so we're back in Kenny's garage, and while we were away, Kenny was working on finishing up the welding of the inner rocker, the inner floor edge, and the cab braces that we worked on last time. And he did a really great job. He took the skills from the first video that we did where we kind of coached him on doing stitch welds and welding in the filler cap, and it came out really nice. He sanded all the welds. You can barely see where it was welded. You'd think he'd been doing this for years, but he's just starting out. So now that we got that all in and it's nice and solid, we are ready to move on to doing the outer rocker and the corners of the door jamb. Those pieces are a lot more straightforward, and we should be able to get them fit up real quick and weld it in.
Today we're going to do a lot of the same work. It's a little more accessible. It's not underneath the car, so we're not crawling under there, getting rust in our face and all that stuff. But we're just going to be tack welding in. It's all the same stuff over and over again. It's just you got to take it piece by piece, and it'll go smoothly. Just take your time, and it works out.
All right, so how you make it out?
I keep blowing through here. I'm like chasing a hole. It keeps getting bigger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could see in here there's an area where the metal's probably a little thin just from, the rust that was underneath. Mm-hmm. And this is common, guys, that are starting out. I mean, I run into it too, where you get into an area that you can't see the metal is this thin.
Yeah.
As soon as you put a heat into it, it just blows out. So you did good. You stopped before it got really large and out of control. If the hole gets really big, like a golf ball size or something crazy, I've seen people still trying to fill it, and you can't do that. You got to put a new piece of metal on. But this here is pretty small. You just have some gaps that are just a little bigger than the MIG wire, so we can adjust the settings, turn the heat down just a tiny bit with the MIG 135 having that infinite adjustability. What you want to do is just work off of these good welds you have. So you have one here where you just barely blew through, and it's a real small hole, so we can bridge that gap, get a weld right in there, and then you just got to work back and forth, and don't let it get too hot. That's the other thing. You keep trying to punch that area, and it's getting hotter and hotter, and it's going to blow away even more. So let it do a tack or two, and then let it cool. Come back, do the same thing, and you can jump around in between doing that. But you're close. Just be careful with that area so it doesn't get out of control. I'll change the settings real quick, and you give it a try.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so we got this panel fit in place here, and this is common with all these patch panels. They don't always fit exactly right, whether it's the patch panel or it's just an old vehicle. You do need to do some modifications. So first of all, we don't want to lap this over the existing metal. It just looks like crap, and also it's going to require a lot of body filler if you lap that over top, which is what we're trying to avoid. So we're going to cut this edge off here, get rid of this little piece here we don't need. And we're going to have to tap this in with the body hammer to get it to sit in and kind of fit the curves of the door jamb. And then down in here, it's hanging off of the inner rocker. So we're going to put a little tiny pie cut right there, push it in, and then we can weld it back up. And then once it's fitting really well, then we can scribe it, cut off the old metal, and put it back in place and weld it in. Since you're pretty solid up in here, and the only where that might need some repairs down here, we'll just graft it in, in the jamb in the corner. Easy to sand with the little mini belt sander, and then it's easy to hide too. You can get it in there in the jamb, clean it up, and it's an area it'll be a hidden repair. So that's why we're doing it that way. We just want to make sure we get this line right there to flow. And same thing with here, we want it to flow around. Well, we got the rear corner piece welded in place, or tacked at least, and it went pretty smoothly. We had to cut apart some of the patch panel. I was telling Kenny a little earlier, with a lot of these pre-formed patch panels, you'll find that they don't fit quite as well as you'd hope, and with how old some of these vehicles are, the vehicle might be tweaked as well. So it's not uncommon that you have to do a couple little pie cuts or a little bit of hammering to get stuff to fit just as it should. It's much better to take the time to do that rather than just putting it in and it doesn't fit very well. So we got that done, ready to move on to the front corner, and I think it'll go pretty quickly. All right, so I think the best bet here is to save these original holes and save trying to transfer them on the new patch. We can actually cut right around them with this little kind of like Z cut here, and we can replace the rusted metal and keep the original holes without having to relocate them. All right, so this is the Eastwood spot weld kit for your MIG welder. It fits any welder that uses Tweako consumables, and it is a lifesaver for jobs like this where you need to do a bunch of different little rosette or plug welds in a panel. You can use this. So these pliers right here allow you to clamp the two pieces together like we just showed you, and then you can take this nozzle that has the standoffs on it, and it fits right in between the opening in those pliers or in the clamps, and it sets you at the perfect standoff for doing a perfect spot or rosette weld every single time. So it's really good for beginners. It's also good for experienced guys. I use this a lot just because it's really quick to jump in, and you can just go zap, zap, boom, zap, and you can just move back and forth, and you can finish the job really quickly and at a high quality. All right, so Kenny got the corners all welded up, and we're ready to move on to the outer rocker here. So we clamped the outer rocker in place, and it fits pretty good, kind of like all the other patch panels. Most of the lines match up with the original stuff in the door jamb area, but there's a few things we do need to address. Like the rest of the panels, there's some areas that need to be pie cut and kind of hammered in place to get everything to line up and fit how we want, and we got to take care of that and make sure that we get the door in and test fit before we weld it in place, because once it's in, it's in. So we're gonna work on getting this adjusted a little bit, and then we can get the door fit up and then hopefully get everything welded in. Door closes nice. All right, so what do you think, Kenny? I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
I'm loving it, man. I'm really excited. It looks really good. It's cool to have floors out finally.
Yeah, the truck is a lot more solid. I mean, when you shut the door, it doesn't sound like it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
So I know you have a little bit more work. We were talking about throughout the project. This is a rolling project you're doing over time. So I know we couldn't address a couple spots there. There's an area here that you have cut out still. But I think the gaps and everything, considering how rough the truck is around it, came out pretty good. So, hopefully we'll be able to do some repairs in the door, that cab corner, and should be able to, fine tune those gaps once you get a little closer.
Yeah.
So, were you able to learn something on this part?
Oh my God! Every second of the day, I was learning something. It was such a good experience to see, I can watch you do it, and then I can do it, and make sure I'm doing it the right way, and it's just a great experience to be able to do that. And I learned a whole lot, and I feel so much more confident to do the passenger side.
Oh, awesome!
And it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it turns out. I definitely gonna have to check in with you and see how you're making progress, and give you a kick in the butt if you're not working on it.
That's right.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was really neat that I was able to. In the end, there, I'm handing you tools and you're doing the work. And in the beginning, you were kind of watching me, so you definitely picked up the skills, and I think you'll do just fine with this one. So, thanks, man, for letting us have us in the shop. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you so much. I learned so much from you guys, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we got this project all finished up. It was a lot of work. The more we cut into it, the more bad repairs we found and rust, and we ended up cutting it back pretty far. But luckily, with all the patch panels that Kenny had purchased already, we were able to cover and fix all of those spots. I was really impressed with how quickly Kenny has picked up all the skills that we were teaching him. And by the end, I was basically handing him tools and just watching him work. And he was kind of leading the way. He knew what to do, just would ask a couple questions here and there. But overall, he did a great job. I know he's going to shine with the rest of the project because he's now got the skills to do the project. And also, he kind of knows what to expect. So he's not going to be as overwhelmed when he cuts into his truck and takes so much old metal out. So I'm really excited to see this truck come together in the coming months.
It was an honor to have Eastwood here. I learned a whole lot. Matt told me a lot of tricks and tips and little things that is going to make the project go a lot easier. I'm excited to tackle the passenger side. Thank you guys for showing me how to do it, the right way to do everything. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to have you guys come back in and show you the progress and see how it's going. If I can say anything out there for people like me, don't be afraid to tackle something like this. You can look at it and it can be really kind of scary to look at, but really you just take your time and it's all metal and you can do it.